ప్రొఫెసర్ శాస్త్రి గారు ప్రిన్సిపాల్గా పనిచేశారు ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజీకి. అంత ముందర వారు మొట్టమొదటిలో న్యూక్లియర్ సైంటిస్ట్. 1966లో ఎంఎస్సీ న్యూక్లియర్ ఫిజిక్స్ చేసి 1969 ఆ ప్రాంతాల్లో పిహెచ్డీ చేశారు. తర్వాత ఈసీఐలో వర్క్ చేశారు సీనియర్ సైంటిస్ట్గా, కంప్యూటర్ సైంటిస్ట్గా చేసి విదేశాల్లో సైన్స్ మీద కృషి చేశారు. వారు ఇవాళ మన ఆశీర్వదించబోతున్నారు.
శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. ఓం పూర్ణమదః పూర్ణమిదం పూర్ణాత్ పూర్ణముదచ్యతే పూర్ణస్య పూర్ణమాదాయ పూర్ణమేవావశిష్యతే. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. ఈ శ్లోకం చెప్పడానికి ఓం పూర్ణమదః, అదహ అంటే ఏమిటది? అవ్యక్తమైన పరబ్రహ్మ. ఇదం పూర్ణం, ఇదం ఇదం అంటే వ్యక్తమైన ఈ జగత్తు. ఆ పూర్ణంలోంచి ఈ పూర్ణం వచ్చింది. ఆ పూర్ణాన్ని తెలుసుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నించేవాళ్ళు ఎవరు? తత్వ జిజ్ఞాసి. ఈ పూర్ణం ఇక్కడున్న జగత్తుని తెలుసుకోవాలని చూసేవాడు ఎవరు? సైంటిస్ట్. సో ఇద్దరు డిఫరెంట్ కాకుండా ఇద్దరు ఒకే దాంట్లో ఉన్న మా యొక్క గురువు గారు స్వామి జ్ఞానానంద గారి గురించి ఇవాళ కొంచెం నాకు తెలిసింది కొంచెం తెలుసుకుందాం. ఈజ్ ఏ సెయింట్ యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ ఏ సైంటిస్ట్. ముందు నివృత్తి మార్గాన్ని అవలంబించారు, తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ప్రవృత్తి మార్గాన్ని అవలంబించారు. ఇప్పుడేం అవధాని గారు చెప్పినట్టు మన ఋషి పరంపర చాలా పరంపర ఉంది. వాళ్ళందరూ సైన్స్ లో, ఏరోనాటిక్స్ లోను, మెడిసిన్ లోను, మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ లోను చాలా మంది, ఆర్యభట్ట, వరాహమిహిర, భాస్కరాచార్య, భరద్వాజ, ఆత్రేయ, ధన్వంతరి, సుశ్రుత, చరక, ఈవెన్ తర్వాత కణ న్యూక్లియర్ ఫిజిక్స్ లో పనిచేశాడు. సో చాలా మనకి చాలా ఈ ల్యాండ్ చాలా మంది ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేసింది. కొత్తగా మనం చూడాలంటే వీళ్ళందరినీ మనం కారణ జన్మలు జీవన్ముక్తులు అనుకుంటాం. ఈ కారణ జన్మలు జీవన్ముక్తి కోవల్లోకి వచ్చే వాళ్ళలో ఈ స్వామి జ్ఞానానంద ఒకటని నేను పూర్తిగా నమ్ముతాను. నా లేటెస్ట్ అతని ఎర్లీ లైఫ్ ఎలా నా ఈ స్పీచ్ మూడు భాగాలుగా చేస్తాడు. మొట్టమొదట ఈజ్ ఎర్లీ లైఫ్, ఈ స్పిరిచువల్ లైఫ్ 1896 నుంచి 27 వరకు, 27 నుంచి 47 వరకు ఈ సైంటిఫిక్ లైఫ్, 47 నుంచి 69 వరకు హిజ్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటివ్, ఈ సర్వీసెస్ ఫర్ ది సొసైటీ. Now he was born in 1896 and named as Bhupati Raju Lakshmi Narasimha Raju. His father was Ramaraju, mother Sitayamma. 5 ఏళ్ళకి అతను అక్షరాభ్యాసం చేశారు 1901లో. 4 ఏళ్ళు ఇంటి దగ్గర చూడటాన్ని బట్టి చదువు చెప్పించారు. తర్వాత పక్క తణుకులో పక్క టౌన్ లో చదువుకి పంపించారు. దాని తర్వాత నెక్స్ట్ టైలర్ స్కూల్ కి నర్సాపురానికి పంపించారు. ది ఫస్ట్ టర్నింగ్ పాయింట్ ఈజ్ at the Narsapuram, where I think not Tanukulane, Narsapuram, Tanukulane, he met with one Swami. మహారాష్ట్ర నుంచి ఒక స్వామి వచ్చి ఇతన్ని పిలిచి రోడ్డు మీద నడుస్తుంటే ఇతన్ని పిలిచి అతనికి కృష్ణ మంత్రం ఉపదేశం చేశాడు. అప్పటికే లక్ష్మీ నరసింహరాజుకి కృష్ణుడు అంటే చాలా ఇష్టం. అతను ఎప్పుడు రోజు ధ్యానం చేసుకుంటూనే ఉండేవాడు కృష్ణుడి గురించి. కృష్ణ కర్ణామృతం, కస్తూరి తిలకం, లలాట పలికి అది ఎప్పుడు రోజు చదువుతుండేవాడు, ఎప్పుడు టైం దొరికినా కానీ. దానితో ఈ స్వామీజీ గారు ఈయనకి ఒక చిన్న మంత్రోపదేశం చేశాడు. అప్పటి నుంచి ఈ మంత్రం చేసుకుంటూ ఉంటే త్రూఅవుట్ హిస్ లైఫ్ హీ ఫెల్ట్ యాజ్ ఇఫ్ ది కృష్ణ వాజ్ అలాంగ్ విత్ హిమ్ అండ్ ఈస్ గైడింగ్ హిమ్ ది ఎంటైర్ లైఫ్. నౌ తర్వాత ఏమైంది, 1912లో టైలర్ స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళాడు. He was always interested in physics, chemistry, but he was neglecting English. But his headmaster ఎప్పుడు వార్న్ చేస్తుండేవాడు, ఇంగ్లీష్ కాకపోతే తప్పు రావు అని. కానీ ది ఐరన్ ఈస్ దట్ he became a great scholar in English, and he wrote a lot of poetry in English. Even he wrote entire sutras also in English only. అతనికి తర్వాత ఈ హొరేషియస్ రీడర్ వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో చాలా గ్రంథాలు ఉన్నాయి. ఈ తాత్విక సంబంధమైన అన్ని గ్రంథాలు అన్నిటినీ చదువుతుండేవాడు ఎప్పుడు. దాంతో ఏమైంది, ఈ ఐసైట్ కొంచెం తగ్గింది. ఆపరేషన్ చేయడానికి మద్రాస్ తీసుకెళ్తే అక్కడ కూడా ఏం చేశాడు, హాస్పిటల్ పక్కన ఉన్న లైబ్రరీకి వెళ్ళేసి యూస్ టు ఆల్వేస్ రీడ్ మెనీ బుక్స్ he was on Ramakrishna, Paramahansa, and all these. He was also interested in Sankhya Shastra as well as Patanjali Yoga Shastra. I just give you the next slide. Gives this the Patanjali Yoga Shastra Ashtanga Yoga. It has got 8 limbs are there in that. I'm going to tell you slightly briefly about it, because this is the one which has got a tremendous influence on him. There are 3 aspects. One is, this is for yoga is cleaning for physical level, character level, and also mental level. Now, if you talk about yama, niyama, and pratyahara, those 3 are there for character building. Asanas and pranayama are there for cleaning the physical and giving the strength to physical entity. And the dharana dhyana are the adhyasa process. And then finally, ultimate thing is what is the samadhi level. Samadhi is what is aikyata with the atma, or what is the soul, great soul, or paramatma. Now, this particular thing, I just briefly, yama again is divided into 5 things: ahimsa, satya, asteya, not stealing, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. And the niyama is, this is all external. Niyama is what? Swachha, santosha, tapasa, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidha is all for personal level. And then pratyahara is what? Basically all these నిగ్రహించుకోవడం, ఆల్ యువర్ జ్ఞాన ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహం అనమాట. అన్ని నిగ్రహాలు, అన్ని ఇంద్రియాలు. ఆసన, యోగాసనాలు, ప్రాణాయామం, especially the asana, basically I'll give you the next. Paschimottanasana is the asana which was really liked by him, which is a very difficult asana as if anybody has practiced that. Now, dharana is a concentration on a particular object. Jhana is completely meditating on the object. And the samadhi portion is what, briefly I'm going to explain it, is what you merge with this object. That means at this time, you don't have anything except only one thing. All are merged into one. That's called, there are in samadhi, there are 2 types of samadhi: savikalpa samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi. I'm not going to detail at this juncture at this time. So basically is what this Patanjali Yoga Sutras and then Sankhya are the great, have again put great influence on him, and then he followed meticulously this one the entire his life. So we'll go to the next slide. So he was doing all these things, and in 1917 he found that he failed in his high school examination. He did not come home. He went straight to Calcutta and then went to Ramakrishna Ashram, where he found a guru and then started doing meditation, all those things, dhyana, asanas, pranayama, namasma samsmarana, mantra japa, and dhyana. He was doing all those things. And his parents got worried, and then they sent one of his close friends, Shastri, to search for him. And then Shastri remembered sometime back telling him that he would go to the Calcutta and then go to the Ramakrishna Ashram. So he went to Calcutta and found him over there. And then he requested him to come back. His parents requested him to come back. He refused to come back. But ultimately, they took permission from his guru. And then he came back for some time. And then by coming home also, he was doing all those sadhana also. But at the home, the parents, seeing his direction going to the spirituality, they want to come back to the normal life. They want to give a lot of responsibilities, home responsibilities. He was very annoyed with that. And then on one morning, one new moon day, he left the house without telling anybody. And then he wanted to go to the birthplace of Buddha. And then he went to Nepal. And then he crossed the Ganduku River. And then he almost died while swimming in the Ganduku River. But somehow he managed to cross that Ganduku River. He found a big stone and then started meditating over there. And then somebody who were the visitors are there, visitor who went over there, saw him doing meditation over there. Nobody is bothered about him. He was meditating there. He became very weak. He was not eating anything. So they told him, this is not a good place for you to meditate. We'll tell you a good place for you to meditate. Secluded place, I will tell you. And then they brought him over here and then put him in near Rishikesh in Swargasam. Swargasam is the place where people can be given some places where they can meditate without any disturbance. So he was doing meditating and doing all these asanas, jhana and all that, where he met a nobleman, a learned person, Saras Chandraji. Later he became his guru. And then he got Upadesha from him, and then he was trying doing all those Upadesha and so on and so forth. The Guru, the Saras Chandra Guru, asked Swamiji to go to Kashmir and then meet people over there. So he went to Kashmir, and then at that place, he got another turning point from him, right, where in a deep meditation, for the first time, he encountered the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So he Atma Sakshatkara ankochu man telugulo cheppalante, Nirvikalpa Samadhi telchukoni he explained in a letter to his guru, and then they were both very happy. And then at that time also he talked to some Siddha people, and then he also learned a Jalasamban Vidya, where he could stay underneath the water for about half an hour or so, right? And then another important thing is, while in one of the days he was going into forest, he encountered a jaguar. And then suddenly it was looking into his eyes. And he did not know what to do. Suddenly he shouted at Om, 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 Om. And then without doing anything, the jaguar just left from that place. Same thing happened at the latter time also. He encountered a leopard also. At the same time also, he also chanted Om. Whenever he was encountering in difficulty, he was always chanting Om, and then he used to come out of those difficulties. Now again, what happened? He came back again to Sargasam, and then suddenly his guru, and then he himself wanted to formally take sannyas ashram. They did not take the sannyas ashram, but if you see that till now, wherever he was moving a lot of places. He was giving different names, and then at this place, the Swami Jnananda gave himself the name Jnanananda. Nobody has given the name. He himself gave himself to his name. And one day, his guru got himself initiated to Sannyasram, and the next day he initiated Swamiji the Sannyasa Ashramam in 19 April 21. So both went to as sannyasis to Varanasi. And then during that time, accidentally, some of the people from his village happened to go to Varanasi. They recognized him. They immediately contacted his parents. And then his parents contacted him. They requested him to come. He said that he would not come. They requested his guru, asked him to send him for at least for some time. They promised him that they would treat him as sannyasi. So this guru allowed him to go to his native place. And then he went to the native place as a sannyasi. And then all these people in his native place treated him as a sannyasi. Now this is Paschimottanasana, if you see, is the one where most of the time he used to be there, and then he used to go into the samadhi state and then fall asleep while on it somewhere. He used to fall on the ground and then get injured also most of the time. But if you see that, it's a most difficult one, but over a period of time, he himself found some new methodologies of the asanas to keep his body very warm. He was always moving at 0 and sub-zero temperatures. He was not, if you'll see in the next slide, somebody wanted to take a photo and then somebody wrapped some cloth around him. Otherwise, he was fully naked in most of the places. Even while moving sub-zero temperatures also, he was fully naked. His body could withstand those temperatures. But one important aspect I'll tell you, while he was doing meditating cave, those people used to arrange some food to him, and then somebody used to come over there. He used to feel very shivery with all the winter clothes and all that. They used to get warm behind his back, even with the winter clothes also. So his body was, with yogasanas, making his body with high temperatures. So he got a beautiful techniques in yoga techniques. He generated some yoga techniques. Now again, after spending some time at native place, he again went back to Varanasi, Rishikesh, and then he moved around Gangotri, Yamunotri. Now we talk about Char Dham Yatra. We did not Gangotri, Yamunotri, Badrinath and Kedarnath. He went on foot, and then he almost fell in one of the glaciers, almost died. Again, he was chanting, he chanted Om, 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 and then luckily he could get the foothold and then came out of it. And then one of the places, a couple of times, he also went during the place to Mount Abu. So at Mount Abu, he wrote about 30 Purna Sutra. He wanted to write just like Brahma Sutras, all his experiences to attain Samadhi. He wanted to put everything in writing. And then he went to Mount Abu, and then he wrote about 30 Purna Sutras. He could not write, he could not get concentration. He came back again. He chose a secluded place, and then he went to again Gangotri. He found a secluded place, and then in the Shanti cave, he completed the Purna Sutras. And then he was moving around, and then he wanted to spread the message to all people. So he was giving lectures on the Purna Sutras, and then suddenly he thought he wanted to publish it. He talked to his father. His father said, "Okay, let us publish it." Okay, I also wanted to go to the Germany to discuss with the people over there and also talk about our philosophy to all the German people. And then they decided to put the Swamiji to Germany, and then they want to publish these Purna Sutras in Germany. Okay. And then next slide, that is his Guru Swami Purnananda. Okay, next slide, please. Now this is about Purna Sutras. You know, these Purna Sutras are in line with the sutras which we know, like Brahma Sutras, or you talk about Purvamimamsa, or Patanjali Yoga Sutras. People found that whatever the Purna Sutras written by the Swamiji, there are about 560, which are nearer to our Brahma Sutras, there are 555. Whatever you see, for any thing, some rules have to be followed. It seems Swami Nanda has followed the rules of all those like Purna Sutras. All the rules he has followed. That means what? He must have by that time completely read all those other sutras also. Now, just like everything in all these sutras, the first line starts with Atato Brahma Jignasa in Brahma Sutra. In Purvamasa, it starts Atato Dharma Jignasa. In the first one, it starts with now they inquire into the reality. What is the reality? Is what? Sat. This is Sat is what? Is called about Sat. Satyam, Gnanam, Anandam, Brahma. We talk about Sat, Chit, Anandam. So the entire Purna Sutras are about this Sat, Chit, and Anandam. He talked about the concept of about the subjectivity and objectivity. I'm not going to more detail about it. The only one important thing I would like to mention, he also talked about, mostly followed the Advaita philosophy also, talked about Adhyasa. This, we talk about Raju Sarpa, Bhranti. Okay? And then one important thing is he tried to give the scientific explanation for this. Now let us, I can spend some time, a little bit time on that. Now he also talked about, second chapter is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Raja Yoga. Most of the time he talked about Patanjali Yoga. And then Jnana Yoga, he talked about all those things, Samadhana, Titiksha, Uparati, Siksha, Jignasa, Saddha, Jhana and Samadhi. He talked about it. And finally, ultimately, the realization of reality or the Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, how to reach the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I think if time permits, I'll come back to the latter and we'll go to the next. This is what about it is a spiritual portion of it. Now he became a scientist later on. Now we'll go to the next slide, please. Now this one is the actually synthesis, but it takes a lot of time. Time permits, Avadhalu permits, I'll talk about it later on at the end of that because it takes a lot of time. Please, next slide, please. Yeah, journey to West. Now, based on 1927, he started his journey from Colombo and reached Italy first. But because he went by ship, so obviously he has to go to Italy to go to Germany. He went to Italy, and then he gave lectures on yoga and Purna Sutra, also about 150 lectures. He also learned some money for publishing that. There some people came forward to publish his Purna Sutras. Now, one of his the students' husband is a professor, right? It's Professor Demba. Okay? He is in the university professor. And then one day, she brought him to his lecture, and then he is also he liked his lecture more, and then he got introduced to him, and then he talked. Swamiji was interested in theory of relativity, Einstein relativity. Special relativity was proposed in 1905, and then special relativity was proposed in 1951. He was following through that, and then he wanted to know more about it, and then he expressed his desire to Professor Demba, and then, but because he did not have any formal degree to that, so he was asked to and write an entrance examination. So for 3 months, he took some tuition from on trigonometry, modern calculus, right, integral calculus, differential vector analysis, optical electricity, on all the subjects. He got some tutor for training and for 3 months, and then wrote the entrance examination, and then got distinction on that, and then underwent an undergraduate diploma for 2 years, 27 and 29, and then got distinction in that. So at that time, while doing that undergraduate course, he developed about 56 experiments, some of which are beyond the graduate level, like calculating the E/M ratio, charge to mass ratio, which we actually learn in postgraduate MSc level. So he did experiment at that level itself. little bit knowledge on that. So he gained that lot of experience, which actually entitled him to do with undergraduate diploma research. In fact, in the Germany. Next slide, please. So these are the lectures he has given in Germany in those 2 years. Vedas, 6 systems, all your Shaddarshanas, what we talk about it. Okay, 6 systems of Indian philosophy. And then subjectivity or objectivity is scientific reasoning on your Maya system. He explained Maya. Maya is beautifully scientifically explained this we normally talked about this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, this whatever we are looking at it. We call it as in the Maya, it's all Mithya. He tried to explain it in a scientific manner. It's all subjective to whatever you are talking about. I just give one example of that. Now let us look at the rose. What is rose? We describe it has got a red color. It has got some smell. It has it got a bitter taste. So these are the qualities. What are these qualities? These are the qualities you are giving to it. It is not this rose quality. Rose does not know that it has got these qualities. These are the qualities attributed by your senses. You are attributing whatever the quality is gained through your senses. You are attributing onto the subjects, right? So whatever you are looking at that is not actually what it is, what the objects that we are looking, but it is a subjectivity. You are imposing your subjectivity on those objects. Okay, I'll just leave it. I will not discuss completely more on that. Okay, and then he talked about science and religion, philosophical religion, and then transcendental. Okay, these are some of the lectures he gave there, which were mostly the difference between his lectures and Vivekananda's lectures were, I found that the most of the Swamiji's lectures were mostly the scientific reasoning. He coupled all those lectures with scientific reasoning, unlike the lectures given by the Swami Vivekananda. Now the next lecture is as a student of the College Science and Technology Dresden in Germany. Now I'll just leave it. Okay, one of the things. Okay, I'll just only highlight one aspect of it. Now, when he was giving this lecture, now what was his qualification? His qualification was SSLC failed. Now in that lecture, now he mentions about atomic and nuclear theories, biology, cell theory, heat, optics, electricity, magnetism, their energy transfers, energy wavelength relation E is equal to h nu, which we studied in MSc level. Time and space, we talk about the time and space are relative, they are not absolute, we talked about it. Uncertainty principle, Heisenberg's uncertainty principles, all those things he talked in those particular lectures. That means he was well versed with all those developments that were taking place at the time while pursuing his spiritual pursuit. So he used to synthesize both. He is trying to find a correlation between the science and spirituality. Once he said, somebody asked, Swamiji, how come you have become a scientist being a Swami? He said, the science and spirituality are, both are my hands. With both my hands, I want to embrace the divine. That's what he told. So for Swamiji, science and spirituality are his two limbs. So he pursued greatly and saw the end in both the cases. Next slide, please. So in the second trip again, he went to Germany and then found his professor was not there because at that time, the Second World War was Hitler was taking over. he was not happy with the number, so he was removed. And then also at that time, he happens to be, he meet Subhash Chandra Bose also, where Subhash Chandra Bose went to Germany for medical treatment. And then he met him. And then both discussed about the Indian independence also. I'll come back to that at a later time. So because he could not stay there because the situation was not good, he went to Czechoslovakia for a PhD work. So he met Professor Dolček in 1934 and then worked for his PhD on, he submitted his work on new and precise spectroscopy of X-ray spectroscopy, and then he got awarded the PhD, right? And then with the PhD, he again came back to India in 1937 and 38. Am I audible again, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fully.
Okay. Let's go to next slide, please.
Ready.
Okay. So, again, what happened was he came back and then he spent some time here. I just forgot to mention one thing. In the first trip, what happened was, while he was working on high energy equipment, the equipment, he got a great shock and then the equipment fell on him. He got injured and then he suffered a lot of injuries and then he was admitted to hospital and then he could not recoup properly. He came to India and then he spent a lot of time, and then from that time onwards, his hands were not really came back normally. Okay. And again, okay, let us say in the third trip, what happened was, I mentioned he went to Prague again and then found the Czechoslovakia was again occupied by Germany. And then he tried to work with J.J. Thomson, who is the son of Thomson. And then he wanted to work at the higher energy level. But at the time, Professor Thomson was working on secret projects for developing some ammunition for the war. So he did not allow him. So he contacted Professor Chadwick, who is the Nobel laureate, who found the neutron in the nucleus. So he wrote a letter to him. He saw his earlier work on X-rays. So he was greatly impressed with his previous work. And then he asked me to come over here and then work with him. And then at that time, Professor Chadwick was working on cyclotron. So he gave a responsibility of working on the chamber, okay, cloud chamber, where whatever the cyclotron is the high energy accelerator, where it used to bombard to the acceleration particles, there lot of particles as well as the high energy particles as well as the X-rays, all those things will come out of that, gamma rays and all that. To detect all those things, cloud chamber was there. So he was given the complete responsibility to identify those the special elements out of the reactions. And the Swami took care of this cloud chamber business. And then he's published a lot of papers over there. And then in all those things, one of the important things is vacuum technology was the most important in all those experiments. So Swamiji found a lot of new techniques to generate high vacuum, and then all those techniques he incorporated in a book and then published a book on high vacuum, which I happened to read the complete book for my MSc level. And then later on, he went to Liverpool, University of Liverpool, and then applied again for a PhD, and then using the beta radioactivity, and then he submitted, and then he got a low energy and spectrum of radioactive gold using beta ray spectrometry. So he got again at the Liverpool a PhD degree. And then what happened at that time, he was working there, but in India, the Quit India movement was taking shape. And then people were meeting, he was reading all those things. And then being an Indian, people were asking his opinion. He was giving positive things about the independence movement. So they were looking skeptical about him. So they were not very happy with Swamiji. So what happened was, he was looking at him as not needed person out there. So he found that irksome, the atmosphere. So he went to Michigan over there, into USA, where he worked extensively on again his research work, cyclotron and beta ray spectroscopy. And then during that time, he also was in conversation with Einstein. He talked with him. At that time, during war, the atom bomb was used, and all the scientists were not happy. Einstein showed his dissent. He wrote a letter to Swamiji to show his dissent also. Swamiji also wrote a dissent letter over there. So at that time, he was not happy with the situation over there because the US used the bomb. So he wanted to come back. Meanwhile, India has got independence. So he wanted to come and work in independence India. He came back to India. So up to the second one, this is the part of the scientist as a scientist. Now he came to India. He got while he was working at Mount Abu in Gujarat, he knew certain big people over there. In Gujarat, a university was going to be started, and then the designated vice chancellor, he knew Swami Gnanananda. He found that Swami is coming to India, and then he requested him to come to Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and then to start a nuclear physics department in Ahmedabad. Swamiji gave a big report for that to start with it. He put a big budget, and then the big budget exceeded the budget of the university. So the vice chancellor told that I cannot give this much money. So he talked to Jawaharlal Nehru, and then introduced the Swamiji to Jawaharlal Nehru. And then Jawaharlal Nehru invited Swamiji, and then requested Swamiji to start a nuclear physics department in the department in the institution that is going to be started as National Physical Laboratory. At that time, NPL has not been started. National Physical Laboratory was there. This Swamiji has got an idea. Nehru has got an idea to start a scientific research organization, Nuclear Physics Laboratory. In that, all the nuclear research department, Swamiji was given the responsibility. He joined as a scientist over there, and then given the responsibility. And the director saw his work, and then he was elevated to as a deputy director. During that time, he was coming to his native place, to Andhra Pradesh, and then giving lectures at various places, mostly spiritual lectures only. But what happened in one of those times, in a particular village, one day he got he fell sick, malaria, something like that. He became very weak. One day he went upstairs, he fell down, he broke severely his both right leg and right hand, and then he severely hampered. It took a lot of time for him to recoup. So what happened at that time? He could not complete his assignment over there at NPL. Andhra, and it just so happened, Andhra and his vice chancellor met him in the hospital, and they requested him to start a nuclear physics department at Andhra University. So Professor Swami Gnanananda started a nuclear physics department at Andhra University, and then started research on the beta ray spectroscopy and gamma ray spectroscopy, and produced about 20 PhDs. And then during this period as head of the department, I just happened to be also joined the department in 1964. During that time, he was the head of the department. He was my head at that time. But he retired as per the rules of the university. He retired in 1965. And then Professor V. Lakshman has become the head department. He was given the emeritus professor to a lifetime as a professor. He used to come out to the university and then see the research work being done by his students. He used to come in the evenings, talk to the people, and look at the progress of those universities, and then publish hundreds of research papers in national and international journals. And then he submitted more than 20 PhDs, 20 doctorates, where some of these people, they became later on heads of departments at various big universities abroad. And then finally, next slide, please. This is a slide where, while he was in Delhi, the Andhra Association asked him to become the chairman of the Andhra Association, where they started a school there for Andhra people, where at the time in the Pinayal portion, he invited the Professor Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, you can see over there, the great eminent personalities over there, along with Swamiji. In the next slide is at the University of Nuclear Physics Department, Homi J. Baba, who was at the time director of Baba Atomic Research Center, Professor V. Lakshmanana, he was the professor, first student of the Swamiji, and then behind he is the vice chancellor of the Andhra University. That is the one I did. And his final years, so Swamiji was given all his shishyas. They made a small kutiram over there, and he used to reside over there. And then on September 1969, he left this place as a Jivan Mukta. And then, what is his message? The perfection inside, and then perfection is outside. Okay, next slide, please. What is it that this is at his native place? One of those, both sides are his disciples. All this information which I've got is from the books Saint and the Scientist, which I present in the first slide, of which is the Ratla Narasimha is the compiler. He is the grandson of one of his disciples, must be seen sitting over here in that. That like he's the book compiled by that book. Most of the information I have taken from that book. Okay, next slide, please. So my association, I just want to share a couple of incidents. He's a great humanitarian. In 1964, I was just 18 years old. I just went out, the first time I went to Vizag from my Tenali, my simple town. And then that experience is very new. I got into a bus. In that, I got injured with in one of in the bus, the iron rod. And the next day, when I went to the university in the class, in between, my eyes were swollen. Suddenly, Swamiji called, "Arey, itra," annadu. He used to call, "Arey," everybody, professors, everybody, andarni, "Arey." Students, research scholars, the sweepers, workers, everybody used to call "Arey." "Arey, itra," annadu. "ఏమైందిరా" అన్నాడు. "స్వామి నిన్న నాకు దెబ్బ తగిలింది" అన్నాను. "ఎందుకు తగిలిందా?" "తగ్గిపోతుంది." వెంటనే ఈ ఫోన్ టు ది యూనివర్సిటీ doctor and then asked him to go to the university doctor and then he gave it doctor. "అరే నేను రేపు తగ్గిపోతుంది" అన్నాడు. మన్నాడు కంప్లీట్ గా స్వెల్ అండ్ హై హెల్త్ అని మనకి నార్మల్ అయిపోయింది. One day I was telling him he was visiting the various laboratories. I was with one of those research scholars. He just came, entered into the labs. He talked to one of the research scholars. "అరే నీకు ఈ నెలతో నువ్వు స్కాలర్షిప్ అయిపోతుంది కదా, నేను రేపు ఢిల్లీ వెళ్తున్నాను, వాళ్ళతో యూజీసీతో మాట్లాడి ఎక్స్టెన్షన్ తీసుకొస్తాలే, భయపడకు, నువ్వేం పడవు, రీసెర్చ్ సరిగ్గా చేయి, నువ్వు సబ్మిట్ చేసేద్దు కానీ నేనే రాసి పెడతాను నీకు" అని చెప్పేసి అన్నాడు. That's what is his humanitarian. He used to call. Inquity, I can explain. One day he saw early morning, he came, I told us, very cleanliness. he saw a sweeper sweeping the ground. torn shirt చొక్కా చిరిగి ఉంది. వెంటనే ఆ స్వీపర్ ని తన కారులో తీసుకెళ్లి సిటీకి తీసుకెళ్లి చొక్కా కుట్టించి ఈ ఆస్క్రి మన్నాడ చొక్కా వేసుకునే రావాలి కాలేజీకి అని చెప్పాడు. దట్ ఈస్ హిస్ నేచర్. Now the last lecture I heard him is telling all the people maybe in 66 or 67, I don't exactly remember. He gave a lecture on nuclear fusion. I just gave the small diagram over there. Fusion is the one where two smaller nuclei, they fuse together, can bring into a bigger nucleus and releasing certain energy. No, actually the sun, whatever the energy that is released by the sun is because of fusion. It is said that in the sun, at any instant of time, about 500 metric tons of hydrogen is getting fused. And then so much energy is being generated at the core of the sun at any instant of time. Now what happened is, when the two small nuclei release, it becomes a heavy nucleus. At the same time, it generates some energy. It generates a neutron, and the neutron is a free neutron. It's not a stable. It becomes a proton, electron, and antineutron. But at the same time, what happened? It releases about 14.1 million electron volts. At the same time, with the helium atom, it generates 3.5 million electron volts. Put together, it actually releases about 17.6 million electron volts. Where from this has come? It is coming in terms of the binding energy of nucleus. It is actually, this binding energy is in turn is the mass. E is equal to mc square. We all are aware of it. That energy is converted into, that mass is converted to energy. And then what is that mass? It is the binding energy of the nucleon. And then Swamiji completes his lectures in saying that, are ఏమిట్రా అది? We call it the binding energy. ఈ ఎనర్జీ వచ్చింది. ఏమిటి ఎనర్జీ? ఈ ఎనర్జీ ఏమి లేదు. ఎవరు పెట్టారు అక్కడ బైండింగ్ ఎనర్జీ? ఎవరు చెప్పారు? ఎలా రిలీజ్ అయింది? దిస్ ఈజ్ గాడ్. Those words still ring in my ears. Hari Om. Can I have some? Do I have some time?
Yes, sir. Thank you. అయిపోయిందా శాస్త్రి గారు?
అయిపోయింది. Do I have some time? If I have some time,
Yeah,
I can go to one slide, previous slide which I missed.
మళ్ళీ నేను వెనక్కడనా స్లైడ్ చూపించనా? హలో శాస్త్రి గారు, శాస్త్రి గారు, ఏది కావాలి? ఎన్నో స్లైడ్ వినిపిస్తుందా? అమ్మాయి సత్య, నా మాట వినిపిస్తుందా?
మీ మాట వినిపిస్తోంది. ఆయన మ్యూట్ అయ్యారు, ఇప్పుడే ఇచ్చేసి అన్మ్యూట్ చేసి.
శాస్త్రి గారు
లేరు అనుకుంటాను.
ఓకే,
అంటే ఉన్నారు బయట.
హలో
శాస్త్రి గారు చెప్పండి.
ఇప్పుడు
మాట వినిపిస్తుంది. మీకు ఏ స్లైడ్ కావాలి?
అది ఎలక్ట్రాన్ ఎక్సైటేషన్ లెవెల్ ఉంది. 4 లెవెల్స్ చూపించాను కదా,
అదే
అదొకటి.
ఇదే, ఇది కదా, ఇదే శాస్త్రి గారు. ఇంకేం లేదు, ఇదే కనిపిస్తుంది.
ఇది కాదు,
ఇంకోటి ఏముంది? ఇంకేం లేదు.
ముందది ఎలక్ట్రాన్ ఎక్సైట్ లేదు. మనం పక్కన ఇవి పెట్టాను కదా, మనం బేకింగ్ స్టేట్ అవి పెట్టాను కదా. వెనక్కి ఇంకా వెళ్ళండి, ఇంకా ప్లీజ్ గో బ్యాక్. అదే సైంటిస్ట్. ఓకే, ఆ సైంటిస్ట్ తర్వాత
చూస్తున్నాను.
అది అది okay, this is the synthesis, his synthesis, his ideas, and I am also a little bit of ideas. Now on the left side of that, what you have is the electron hydrogen atom structure. Now, as per the quantum mechanics, these particles can have different quantum levels. Now, what we have is n is equal to 1 is the ground level, and then we have excited. The moment it gets an energy, it goes to a discrete levels, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, and so on and so forth. Now, corresponding to that, in our life, what Swamiji has said that we have a waking state, sleep state, that Sushupti state or the deep sleep state, and then Turiya state. He is trying to have a correlation between our state and the nuclear excited state. Unfortunately, the normal state of nucleus, where you don't have the energy, is not released. In the case of nuclear, the excited states of whatever this electron or nucleus, the same electron structure holds good the nuclei also. These electron structures, well, they're in the excited state. If they go to excited state, they come to lower state by releasing certain energy. Okay, the X-rays or gamma rays, whatever you talk about in this case. In the case of a correlation in this, now we know that wake up state, Jagruti state, Swapna state, we call it Swapna state, the sleep state, and then deep sleep is Sushupti state, and the T is Turiya state. The Turiya state, we call it as what? This is Atma Satsakshara state, that where you find Jivatma is merged with Paramatma, Turiya state, identifying, which we said Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, we talk about it. Transcendental state, Turiya state. It is not state actually, you should not call it Turiya. Fourth one, that's why it's called. In the Jagrita state, had it been, this is supposed to be the normal state, where Manasu Chittamo Buddhi Ahankaramo. The mind, the problem with all of us is because of these four. These four things, they are stable. They always look at something else. They bring all those from Vishal నుంచి గ్రహిస్తుంటే ఏదో చేయాలని చెప్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ కర్మేంద్రియాలు, జ్ఞానేంద్రియాలు వీళ్ళంటికి ఆల్వేస్ యాక్టివ్ గా ఉంటాయి. ఈ జాగృతిలో ఉన్నది ఏంటంటే ఇవన్నీ ఏమిటంటే బికాస్ your body is in an excited state. So these excited waking state also, see, this different state may have a state, but at that time, at that place, you may have a different, a subset of different states also you can assume, wherein we normally, we experience certain excitement levels in waking state. So what happens is, you also, while in కోపం వచ్చినప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తాం, you go to differently, excited కి వస్తాం. అది ఎప్పుడు తగ్గిపోతున్నాము, you release, ఎవరి మీద కోపంతో రిలీజ్ చేస్తాం. ఆ కొంత ఎనర్జీ you release over there, you come down to next level. Okay? In the same manner, whatever the electron nuclear system is there, Swamiji trying to synthesize with the scientifically, with the state which we have. Swapna state also is also similar to Jagrut state, wherein the Manasu Buddhi, బాహ్యేంద్రియాలు పనిచేయవు, కానీ మనస్సు, బుద్ధి, చిత్తం, అహంకారం ఇవన్నీ కూడా పనిచేస్తాయి. They create their own world over there, and then they live in that world. And then Sushupta is what? All those things, even మనస్సు, బుద్ధి, చిత్తం కూడా frozen state లో ఉంటుంది సుషుప్తిలో. But that is what deep sleep state. ఓకే, బట్ వాట్ వుడ్ మనం అంతా ఏమనుకుంటాం, బాగా హాయిగా ఆనందంగా చాలా చక్కగా ఉంది, నిర్మలంగా ఉంది, చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉన్నాం, హాయిగా నిద్ర పట్టింది. యు కమ్ అవుట్ రిఫ్రెష్ బికాస్ వై? ఆల్ యువర్ చిత్త వృత్తులన్నీను గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్ కి వచ్చేసినాయి. ఇవన్నీ అక్కడ కూడా మిగిలింది ఏముంది, ఒక అహంకారం ఉంది. యు కమ్ అవుట్ అవర్ ది, నేను అనే తత్వం ఉంది. వెల్ యు కమ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ దట్, ఎలా తెలిసింది నీకు? నేను ఉన్నానని. ఓకే, నాకు ఈ నేను ఐ ఫాలోడ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఫేజ్, నాకు ఈ ఆనందం అనుభవించాను నేను అని బయటకు వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఫీల్ అవుతున్నాడు. బట్ యాక్చువల్ స్టేట్ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ బీన్ దట్ దిస్ తురియా వన్, that should have been a normal state. What all these people tell is that what this should be the normal state, where all those manasa buddhi chitta ahankara, they are not in the excited level, they are in the ground level, at the T level. The all aim for almost of the people is what the jhana prakriya, the jhana idantha evantante go to the turiya state ki veltame andari yokka jayam. Okay, that's what I want to say today. I don't want to extend further. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasti garu.